So it's no secret that Apple's in trouble. The users and the creators are starting to question them and their decisions. They added a camera control button to the new phone for no real reason. It's hard to control it vertically, which is the form of video that more and more people are starting to use. Landscape views going away as short form content becomes more and more popular. And tapping your phone screen is way easier and way more intuitive than fiddling around and trying to learn a whole new language button. And most generic iPhone cases don't even cover the camera control button because it's touch sensitive. Sure, Apple original cases do, but that's a different story. And while most of their AI features have rolled out by now, some are still coming. While competitors like Samsung fully unveiled their AI features a year ago, January 2024, with the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra. So combine this with the fact that a lot of creators have been flaming them recently. If a killer Android phone comes, it might be able to steal away a few thousand users or a few million users from the iPhone, which is a huge step in the Android versus iPhone battle that we have going on. So the Samsung S25 launched a couple weeks ago. This phone has had a lot of hype surrounding it, and it's been something that many creators have been waiting for a long time. Let's see if this new state-of-the-art phone can battle the iPhone, and if it is the one killer Android phone that the Android market has been looking for. So obviously, when you're talking about the phone, you have to start with cameras. There are memes now that phone reviews are basically just camera reviews now because of how long companies can talking about them. So, are there any changes? To a certain extent, most of them are incremental. For this video, I won't be talking about the megapixel count of the sensors because that really doesn't make a difference. The Samsung Galaxy A14, a budget-end phone, actually it's a mid-ranger, but you get the point, has a 50 megapixel sensor. So does the Samsung S25 Ultra. But obviously you're going to get way better photos from the S25 rather from the A14. So is there any hardware metric that we can compare to easily at a glance be able to tell which camera system will be better? Well, generally a good thing to look out for is the sensor size of a camera. So to give you an idea of what a sensor size is, this is a Sony camera, and if I take off the lens, so you see right here is a digital sensor. When I press a button, light information goes through the sensor, goes to the lens, gets focused onto the sensor, and the sensor is being able to turn that into an image that I can see over here. So smartphones still have sensors, though they are way smaller, which is why they don't have as much quality as professional cameras. But every year, smartphone manufacturers do find creative ways to increase the size of their sensors. So let's see if the sensor size has increased this year. Well, the S24's ultra-wide camera had a sensor size of 1/2.55 inches, which is it's like a fraction of an inch. Just think of it like that. While the wide camera, which is the main camera, which I find kind of confusing to be honest, is 1.13 inches. The S25 Ultra's improvements are minimal. The only improvement is that the ultra-wide camera now has a sensor size of 1/1.57 instead of 1/2.55, and the 5x zoom has a sensor size of 1/2.52. Now, when you compare to the iPhone, you find that most of it is basically the same. While there are a few changes, it's like fractions of a fraction of an inch. So, at that point, it doesn't really make a difference. However, what does make a difference is the fact that Samsung phones have a whole other camera. So, when you're zooming in on something with your camera, you would notice quality degradation as you're using digital zoom, which does cause a noticeable degradation of quality. So if your phone has a 1x zoom, a 5x zoom, and a 15x zoom, there's no phone like that, I'm just making this up, when you're the 1x zoom mark, quality will be perfect. When you zoom in, you start to lose quality until you hit your 5x zoom. And then you get a noticeable quality jump because you're going off actual camera optics and not just digital zoom. But then when you zoom in further and further and further, what tends to happen is that your quality starts to degrade again until you hit the 15x or whatever the next uh, zoom camera is. Also, it's a bit misleading to call this a zoom camera. It's more of a telephoto camera, but I'll explain that later. So, seeing as that the Samsung has an extra camera, I'm pretty sure we can give this point to the Samsung. Though the iPhone 16 is still the most stable video camera in market, and iPhones have been leading the pack with videos in the past few years, so it's not hugely unexpected. Now, let's move on to the battery. Now, phone chips get faster and faster and faster every year, and multitasking becomes way more popular. We now like to have a game running while we're having a YouTube video that we're listening to while someone else is calling us. So, multitasking has become very prominent and huge use of the phones that we use. So, with that, the thing that becomes the most important resource you have at the disposal in your phone is your battery. Now, the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra has a battery capacity of 5000 mAh, while the iPhone 16 Pro Max also has a battery capacity of 5000 mAh. They're the same, right? That's where you'd be wrong, because I found out that companies actually round off battery capacities. That means that if you dive a little bit deeper, you find that the S25 Ultra actually has a 4885 mAh battery, while the iPhone has a 4685 mAh battery, meaning that the Samsung is slightly ahead. And when comparing charging speeds, in 30 minutes the S25 Ultra can reach 68% as quoted by Samsung themselves, while the iPhone as quoted by Apple can only reach 50%. It's worth noting though that in the Samsung's case, this hasn't improved since last year, and 68% was how the S24 also was. Now, I don't know about you, but one of the main things I use my phone for is for entertainment. The media experience on any phone can be broken down into how good the speakers are and how good your display is. The Samsung has a 6.9-inch dynamic AMOLED 2x display with a resolution of 3120x1440 and a 120Hz refresh rate. Breaking that down, the number that you see multiplied 3120x1440 is the horizontal pixels and vertical pixels, so you know how many pixels are on screen. And 120Hz refresh rate means that the phone is refreshing its display 120 times per second. Now, the iPhone, on the other hand, has a 6.8-inch OLED display with 2868x1320 resolution and 120Hz refresh rate. So both have high enough refresh rates and high enough pixel densities so that you can't see the individual pixels from your eyes. Now the difference boils down to AMOLED versus OLED. Which one's better? Well, it's not that simple. OLED, generally speaking, has superior contrast and more energy efficiency, while AMOLED has a high refresh rate and better viewing angles. So it really boils down to what you want as a user. To be honest, the only games I play is chess.com. So for me, I prefer OLED tech in my phone because OLED will save me more battery life and I'm not really too concerned on viewing angles. But someone who's a bit more of a gamer would like the extra refresh rates and the viewing angles. So again, it depends on what you want to do with your phone. So I'm going to leave this open. So while I only play chess.com, there are some people who play way more demanding games on their phone. And for those people, performance is a huge metric. The S25 Ultra is powered by the Snapdragon 8 Elite chip, while Apple uses its A18 Pro chip. So I took some benchmarking data from Antutu, thank you for that, and basically we found that the S25 Ultra scored a 2,265,528, while the iPhone scored a 1,747,255. So Samsung wins. But we can't not consider the fact that the iPhone has an advantage, and that advantage is the fact that the chip and the software is made by the same people, Apple. So there's more room for optimization. While Samsung does have their own One UI software skin, it is based off of Android, which Google controls, not them. Now, this may not end up playing a huge difference, or it may make a huge difference, because as we saw with the MacBook Airs and the MacBook Pros that had the M1 chip, they were way more smoother and more responsive than the than the Intel MacBooks. And this was because of the fact that the chip could be optimized for the software, and the software could be optimized for the chip. So, this is all speculation that the iPhone could pull ahead. In terms of raw hardware data that we have right now, Samsung pulls ahead. So, most of this video, the S25 Ultra has either been on par with the iPhone or overachieving it. Now, that's not exactly new. For most of history, Android smartphones have had newer tech than iPhones, and that wasn't enough to topple them. What I think would be enough to topple them is if someone beat them in this new AI arms race. Now, Samsung was the first brand to come out with their AI features, which is a huge step towards victory. But they have announced that they will be charging for these AI features. And this is my main problem with this phone. So, this video would have been me basically saying, drop what you're doing right now because the Samsung S25 Ultra is amazing, you should buy it right now. But the reason I'm not saying that is because of this AI feature charging. Samsung wanted to be the first company to release their AI features, and they did that, so hats off to them. But they realized that this cloud storage thing that they're using for their AI features ain't cheap. They can't afford to subsidize the cost, so they have to take some from users in the form of some sort of subscription. Now, the value of this phone entirely rests on these AI features, as the rest of the updates, while significant compared to the iPhone in some areas, are basically nothing has changed since the S24 Ultra. So the only thing that these guys are banking on is the AI features. And without knowing how much it costs, how do we know the value of the phone? We don't know the phone's good for money without knowing how much the main feature is going to cost you in the long run. So yeah, if you receive an update on the price, I'll be sure to update this video or release a follow-up video. But until that, we can't really say that you should buy it right now. Also, if they do give us an update and the price isn't that bad and it's worth it, then the S25 Ultra's price would have actually gone down significantly over time because of how long it would take them to make a response. I don't think Samsung's gonna make a response until some other company tells that they're charging for AI, like maybe Google or Apple. I'm not sure about that. And once they do announce this price, Samsung will announce their price. If it's low enough and you're okay with that, if you think that that's good value for money for you, then you can buy it. But then at that time it'll be worth way less than what it is now, so you can get the phone for cheaper. It's a win-win and a win. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want more tech content like this, be sure to consider subscribing and checking out our website. Link is in the description. And also we have podcast links in the description, where we will talk every Sunday about something big happening in the tech space. So thanks for watching. My name is Akin, and I'll see you in the next video.